Welcome to our new course of Adobe Photoshop. First off, in this lesson and in this course, we are going to learn all about the basics of Adobe Photoshop. What tools it has, what functionality does it provide, and how are you going to use the tools in Adobe Photoshop, and the last of all, how to do your work in Adobe Photoshop. In this first lesson, we are going to learn all about Photoshop, the tools, like a couple of them, and also about the interface of Adobe Photoshop. So let's start off by knowing what Adobe Photoshop means. Adobe Photoshop is a software that is extensively used for raster image, editing, graphic design, and digital art. It makes use of layering to allow for depth and flexibility in the design and editing process, as well as provide powerful editing tools that when combined are capable of just about anything. Okay, so this is basically a photo manipulating software which is powered by Adobe. Okay, so first thing you have to keep in mind that it is a lot like other photo editing softwares like Lightroom and all of those, but as this is one of the most powerful and one of the most used photo editing software, and also by professionals, it is a bit of complex, but if you know how it is, obviously you will also get friendly with it. So we are going to help you throughout the process of how you are going to be able to use Adobe Photoshop. So first thing is that you have to use the most newest or latest version of Adobe Photoshop when you are working. So I'm using 2023 of Adobe Photoshop, okay, so that you get all of the tools that Adobe Photoshop has to offer, and also a couple of bug fixes. So what we're going to do now is know about what it is used for, okay? So first off, we have to know that Adobe Photoshop was originally developed in 1987 by Thomas and John Null. Okay, obviously what is there a problem to know about a software when it was developed? Okay, so the basic use of Adobe Photoshop is most of the time used by professional because it is the industry standard photo editing software. Okay, and the go-to application for everything from small retouching changes to mind-bending photo art. Photoshop is where editors crop photos, adjust photo composition, correct lighting, and make any subject imaginable look its absolute best. Okay, first off, we now know what Adobe Photoshop is and what is the use of it and why is it very popular. Okay, just that I told you from what is the usage of Adobe Photoshop. So first things first, we can see that in the interface of Adobe Photoshop, this is how it will look like. You can see file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, 3D view, plugin, windows, and help. We will go through each and every one of them in a later lesson. So first things first, what you have to do is know about how you'll be able to start your work in Adobe Photoshop. You can see that there are two of these options: new file, open, and home, which is the section, the home. Okay, with the screen which you see, this is the home. And you can also see welcome to Photoshop, drag and drop your file or select one from your computer to get started. You can open up new files from over here, but if you have an older file which you want to start working on again and open it up on Adobe Photoshop, click on open. And it will, both of these options will open up an interface where you will be able to select any of the document or any of the file which you want to start working on. So first I'm going to click on new file. You can see an interface like this will open up. This is the recent saved photo, print, art and illustration, web, model, film, and video. Well, these are the types of format of, the panel or the screen which you want to start working on, or let's say the page or the size of the page. You can see recent is this one, which is, which is the default in Adobe Photoshop. Then it's saved. Whichever preset or whichever, size of the page you use will be saved over here. You can also search for templates on Adobe stock. You have to stay connected to the internet too to have that access. Then we have this photo, which is going to be the photo sized, okay? Then it's the print size, which is, all the paper size, which you can see over here. Select whichever one you want. Then we have this art and illustration, which is 2000 pixel grid, and all of those. You can use any of them you want. You can also see that there are, the resolution over here, which is for 720p and also 1080p, okay? Then let's just go to web. This is the web structure, or how you will be seeing that photo or whichever project you are doing in Adobe Photoshop to see in websites. And this is the mobile view, which mobile do you want to specifically display to. And also we have film and video. Okay, the size of the videos which people make, such as YouTube and all those screens which you can see over here, it is extended up to 8K films. Okay, so let's just go to recent, and you can also see an interface like this appears up, which you'll be able to make your own preset or your own detail or the size of the paper where you want to start working on. you can like name your preset. Let's say the first name should be GHG. Okay, I'm not gonna name anything like that. Let's say goat. Okay, then you can select the width. First off, you can select whichever format you want it on: pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeter, point, and picas, which is also quite the same from Adobe Illustrator if you're familiar with that. Okay, first off, what we're gonna do is going to be select on inches or whichever size you want, but I most of the time prefer on millimeters. But let's say I'm gonna show you on inches. Okay, so let's say the width, you can like, number your width. Let's say I want it to be 10, and I want the height to be 5, or let's say 7. Okay, and you can select the resolution of whichever one you want. Let's say if you want pixel per inch or pixel per centimeter, you can select that, whichever one you want. Okay, let's say I'm gonna keep it on inch. Resolution should be 1080p, 1080. Let's say color mode, you can select whichever color mode you want. You have CMYK, grayscale, bitmap, lap color. Well, most of the time I try using CMYK color on Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep it on CMYK and then select the color mode 16-bit or 18-bit, which is a bit of complex for you right now, but let me describe it to you what the bit does in color mode. So what the bit actually does is that the bit, or the bit depth of an image, determines how many shades or level of color there are in each channel, or such as cells, or we can also say centimeters or inches, which I'm using right now. Okay, this is going to be denser than this one. Okay, if you select 16-bit and 8-bit. So I'm gonna keep on 8-bit right now to keep the resolution good. Now what you're going to do is select the background content. Okay, you can select whichever color type you want, whichever color you want to use it as background. Let's say I'm going to keep it on white. You can also select it from here by using this panel. Let's say I want to use this color. Let's click on OK, and you will see that color will be added to the background. Okay, but I'm going to keep it on white because that's more, looks a lot more better. I'm going to keep it on OK. Now what you're going to do is, if you want to go to advanced option, you can also select that, but which you can see over here. Then you can select the like color profile, whichever color profile you want, which is also kind of like presets. Let's say I'm going to use Japan color 2001 uncoded, and I'm going to select the pixel ratio. Let's say square pixels or whichever one you want. Let's say you have also HDV, which is the resolution and all of those. Let's say from here I'm going to keep it on the custom or whichever one it's on default. Okay, square pixel. What I'm going to do is, if you want to start working on, you can like select whichever one you want to. Okay, that will also be okay, but I'm going to do is use the recent one, which I made right now. Okay, what you have to do is edit it, and then let's say I'm going to do is keep it on CMYK first and keep it on Japan coded 2001 uncoded. Let's say we chose 1080p, 1080, height to be 8 or 7. So I'm going to keep it on 7, which I did previously, and then press create. You will see that an interface like this will open up where you will be able to start all of your works. You can also see the tools over here. If you want to change the interface of how Adobe Photoshop works, what you're going to do is click on Windows, and then select on Workspace, and I'm going to suggest you to use, Essential, which is like on default. But you can also go to New Workspace and Photography Painting, whichever work you want to start working on, so that you're going to see all of those tools at first. Okay, but I'm going to keep it on Essential because this is the basics of Adobe Photoshop and how you'll be able to use it and start learning it too. So first off, I'm going to do is go back again, go on Home. Now, if you want to open up older work projects or, photos, videos, not videos, but photos actually. So what you're going to do is just click on the select one. You can see an interface like this will also open up. Okay, so here I have my photo. I'm going to click on open, or select whichever one you want. Click on open, and you will see it will process for a while, and then put it directly on Adobe Photoshop. So that is how you'll be able to open up, new projects or older projects in Adobe Photoshop. But there is also another way of how you can do that. It's going to be, let's say I'm going to minimize it for a while. You can see that I have my photos over here too. What I'm going to do is going to be, let's say I'm going to click on this one and drag it right over here. And you will see it will take a couple of time and it will open up on Adobe Photoshop. That is very simple, right? Of how you'll be able to open up older projects or whichever photo you want to start working on. But another advantage of using Photoshop is that you can also go to the previously, put, photo back again by using these tabs, okay, which you most of the time use in web browsers and all of those. It's kind of like that. You can also cut it by clicking on this. Let's say I'm going to, remove it, and you can see that has been removed. Very simple, right? Okay, so now you know how you'll be able to open up or, create a new, let's say screen or panel or background, whichever one you say, or start working on. Now, the first thing what we're going to do is go to the blank page and show you a couple of tools, okay, or how the interface actually works. So you can see the same options are also over here, which is like, very essential to stay in or like while working. Then we have the home. We can just click on it and it will take us directly to the home tab or the home panel. Now I'm going to select on this again. You can see the same, the same file has opened up. But you can also go to the one we removed. Just click on this option and it will open up on the same panel or same, working project. which is very simple. Now we have is this tool, which is also kind of like a border tool, okay, which you can select on this and select on whichever photo you want to use. Let's say I'm gonna drag it, or you can open up a new panel where you can work on just individually. That is also allowed in Adobe Photoshop. Then we have is this mode and this mode. So these are kind of like selection panels, or let's say I'm gonna keep it like this. Okay, you will also see the info if you just click it on or keep your mouse on over it. You can see new selection. Then we have is add to selection. Then you can subtract from selection, and you can insert or intersect with selection. You can like select the photos and do whichever one you want. What you have to do is control, and you will see all of them will be selected. And that is very simple. Then we have is the feather, then the anti-alias, then the style, width, height, and selecting mask. Well, let's first go through these tools, okay? Which is going to be the feather. This depends on how smooth or how hard you want your photo to look like. What I'm going to do is keep it on 40, hit on enter, and you will see that nothing will change. Obviously, when you select the part that you want to change, only then it will be, customized, or it will be, reverted or changed, okay? Then we have this anti-alias. What you have to do is, let's say I'm going to select on this part. What I'm going to do is, let's say, select on this, and I can move it wherever I want, okay, just as you can see. But you can also use different tools, such as, undo and redo, which is also allowed to do over here. To undo and redo, what you have to do is press on the shortcut keys of, which you use in Microsoft Words, Photoshops, and all of those. Let's say I'm going to do is Control Z, and you can see undo has been done. You can also use a couple of other tools or other, shortcut keys, such as, let's say copy, cut, and paste by using the same keyboard shortcuts which we use in those software such as, Microsoft Word and all of those. Okay, what you have to do is press on Control Z to undo. Let's say I'm going to copy this Control C. I'm going to go to other page, Control V. You can see that photo has appeared over here, which is like very simple, right? Now we know how to do that. If you want to cut it, what you have to do is Control X. You can see that part has been cut. Control V to paste it back again. And if you want to undo it, Control Z, and you can redo it by Control Y. You can also see that the layer, or what we call as the color mode, changing. You can see CMYK and not CMYK. See, that is also doable. Now, the next things we have to know about these tools, or you can also extend it so that you can see it over here. This panel, and this panel. Okay, you can see the style mode of the text or the ratio, whichever one you want. It's just going to be over here. You can select fixed ratio and all of those. You can then select the width. Let's say select the width to be 5, hit on 5, and height to be 2. First, what you have to do is select this, photo 2. Select the photo. And I'm going to do is select on this, double click, or layer 1 background, and all of those. You can see those options. Now what I'm going to do is going to be a bit different. You can also see transform control, and you can see the outlines of the photo has appeared up. So we know how to do stuff like those, which is kind of like the basic. Then we have is these tools, which you can see over here: color, swatches, gradient, pattern. Okay, we will go through each and every one of those tools later in this lesson because we cannot complete all of it in the first lesson, obviously. First, I'm going to show you the interface and then talk to you about individual tools and individual like, let's say, sections or where the tool is found. First off, in the color section, you are going to be able to edit all about the colors in this specific photo which you're working on, such as this one. You can select the color and all of those. You can edit it later on. Then you can do properties of adjustment, libraries, and all of those. Then we have swatches, which is also kind of like the RGB section where you will be able to fix your color and all of those, such as color mode and all of those. Let's say I'm going to keep it to be something like this. I'm going to click on this option. Let's say I'm going to keep this part to be something like this. Control Z to undo it, and you'll be able to fix the adjustment, libraries, and all of those too. Then we have its gradients. If you want to add gradients to your photo or the selected part where you want to edit, you'll be able to do that. Then we have its patterns. If you want to like edit in a couple of patterns in your photo, let's say I'm going to keep it like this, and you can see that photo has turned into a background or specific pattern which we used. So this is how you'll be able to do or find those tools over here on the right side of Adobe Photoshop, which is also kind of like this. But there are a couple more like properties, adjustment, libraries, patterns, or layers, channels, and paths. I'm going to press Control Z to go back to the photo, which I had right now. I'm going to cut it for a while. I'm going to do save changes, yes, or maybe no, if you want it, or if you don't want it, no. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to keep it to be something like this. I'm going to paste it on over here, or whichever one I want. And I keep it over here. You can also like add in layers so that when you do, editing on a specific layer and you go like you do some mistakes and you have to like undo or sometimes even delete that file, okay? But if you add in layers, then you are going to be able to have that advantage of removing that layer where you did your mistake on, and you can like start working back on where you ended your progress or when it came to a mistake. You can also select channels from over here, which you will be able to select, which is a lot like colors and all of those. Let's say I'm going to use green. You can use RGB, red, and all of those, okay? Which is like doable from over here. You can also select paths. Well, this is kind of like all you have to know about this right side tool, which you can see in Adobe Photoshop. Then we have is this tools such as move tool, rectangular mark tool, lasso tool, and you will see also a couple of options if you press on your right mouse key. You can also see the the tools which has this corner, right bottom corner, which this markup or this icon is. You will see when you click on the right tool, right click, and you will see a couple of the tools will appear up. Okay, you can also select or create your rectangle on your own by using this rectangle tool, text, shape, search, then gradient. Then this is also a kind of tool which is like history brush tool. You will see a preview like this tool, which is also can be used to remove your object. Brush tool. Then we have this pick tool, eyedropper. Then we have this crop, the lasso, and all of those. You will see these options over here: object selection, frame tool. Then we have a spot healing, which we also did back in Adobe Lightroom. Then we have this razor tool. This is blur tool. Then this is going to be pen tool and path selection tool. Then hand tool. Then edit toolbar and all of this color section. And last of all, we have is this tool, edit in queue, like quick mask mode, and also change screen mode by selecting or pressing F. So this is all you have to know about the first lesson or the interface of Adobe Photoshop. And you can also see these tools of opacity, flow, and also the angle, okay, which you'll be able to do. Let's say try in 40, hit on enter, and 40 will not be applied because I did not edit anything, okay? So this is going to be the first lesson of Adobe Lightroom, and hope you understood everything about this interface of Adobe Photoshop. In this later lesson, we are going to learn about a couple of other functionality which Adobe Photoshop has to offer, and also later on I'm going to show you all about these tools with examples and how you'll be able to use that. So thank you for watching this video and also for staying with us.